Brothers, sisters, I just want to say thank you very much for following me along my spiritual journey. Now, we have gone over 4,000 subscriptions, 4,050, the last that I've checked, and I could not have gotten to this level without you. You followed me along my spiritual journey and have followed me through my rituals, through my magical workings, through my dictations on philosophy and spirituality in general, and as well through many different paths, Asatru, Vodou, Hinduism, and working with different beings of different natures. You have followed me this whole way, and I just want to say thank you. I could not have reached this point of over 4,000 subscriptions without you. Now, there is a vote going on right now on my channel. You have to subscribe and then go to the community tab on my channel in order to vote. But the vote is on what the next major video will be. There are three options, and the one that is winning right now is reaching out to a god of war I've not worked with. And that one is winning right now as far as votes go. So I just want to give a hint as far as what that, or who that god is, and I'd like to say that it is a Japanese god of war. If you know the answer to the being that I'm going to be reaching out to, probably because the votes are at the highest in that section right now, feel free to shoot down in the comment section below. Now, my mission for my YouTube channel has always been to help people understand different forms of spirituality, to help you realize how you can connect to the gods or the spirits or the source yourself and not rely on other people, not have to go through intermediaries like priests or Brahmins or even Hangans and Mambos. But in order for us to have a deeper understanding and meaning within our own divine nature, within the soul that exists within each and every one of us, we have to be able to connect to the divine on a personal level. Now, my mission, my overall mission, not just for my channel, but for me personally, is to preserve this world for as long as possible and to preserve humanity as long as possible. And I try to bring a peaceful mindset to those who watch my videos and a level of understanding that allows you to see the stranger as a friend, to see truth as not particular to one religion, one spirituality, but to everyone's beliefs, the heart of everyone's beliefs. And if we go along this journey together, if you take this mission as your own, if you take this purpose as your own, you are my ally. To preserve this world and humanity is my #1 goal. And those two things are not mutually exclusive. To preserve this world and to preserve humanity are the exact same thing. This is Odin's mission. The Divine Mother Kali Ma has this mission not only for this world, but for many others. I would say every other that has sentient life. To have a semblance of peace and balance that allows everything to exist in a state of cooperation. That we may produce higher and higher levels of understanding and consciousness within ourselves, but also in other life forms. And to allow ourselves to not be destroyed by the foolishness that human industry often produces. Now, I would like to say something else, and there is this there is this book that I received today that a lot of people may have heard of, but probably most of you haven't. And this is Arthur Koestler, The Ghost in the Machine. The author is Arthur Koestler, and The Ghost in the Machine is the name of the book. Now, this book is from, I think, 1967, but it is pivotal in trying to understand the separation between human emotion and human reasoning, human motion and human logic, and how these things, while existing in the same brain, these things are divided between emotions, especially negative ones, are rooted in the reptilian brain, which is at the center in a very small part of our brain. But the neocortex, the higher part, allows us to do amazing things, to produce music, to produce civilization, to produce the ability to cooperate with others and continue forward as a united humanity. But we are always held back by these primal urges, by these primal self-interested modes of thinking that the reptilian brain is known for in other mammals, but also us. A mouse has a reptilian brain, a hyena does. And while we may view ourselves as higher than those forms of life, we have to realize that that is still very intrinsic to a lot of what we feel. Now, I don't even view love as the emotion that most people think it is. I think love is a higher understanding and a higher experience of the neocortex, slightly inhibited in some cases and attributed to in others by the reptilian brain. But regardless of that, this book, it's very hard to explain. It is the background for the anime, which is one of my favorite anime, which is The Ghost in the Shell. Now, I'll go ahead and read the back of this book, then I'd like to read a passage from this book to give you an idea of what this book's about, because this book is very important. I received it today from Amazon, and I'd highly recommend it because of what I know about it and reading a little bit of it. Could the human species be a gigantic evolutionary mistake? To answer that startling question, Koestler examines how experts on evolution and psychology all too often write about people with an antiquated slot machine model based on the naively mechanistic worldview of the 19th century. His brilliant polemic helped to instigate a major revolution in the life sciences, yet its glimpses of an alternative worldview form only the background to an even more challenging analysis of the human predicament. Perhaps he suggests we are a species in which ancient and recent brain structures or reason and emotion are not fully coordinated. Such inbuilt deficiencies may explain the paranoia, violence, and insanity that are central strands of human history. And however disturbing we find such issues, Koestler contends, it is only when we face our limitations head on that we can hope to find a remedy. So in this book, he will be talking about, our human brain not being completely coordinated in its different parts, and how evolution and psychology play a role in not only dividing these different pieces, but their exchanges. Psychology is the understanding of these exchanges. It's not an entity in itself, of course. But I will read a passage from this book just to give you an idea of it, because I think it is a vital book. This is why I've ordered it. I've been meaning to dive into this for a long time. So this is a random page that I opened up to earlier, but it epitomizes what I think this book has to offer to you. Now, one of the difficulties besetting this subject is that we rarely experience a pure emotion. The barman tends to mix the contents of the taps. Sex may be combined with curiosity and with virtually any other drive. The hedonic tone also tends towards ambivalence. Anticipation may make actual discomfort pleasurable, and the unconscious component of the drive may give rise to feelings which change a plus into a minus. The pain felt by the masochist on one level of awareness may be experienced as pleasure on another level, but we are concerned with a third type of ambiguity, leaving aside the extremes of blind rage at one end and the mystic trance at the other end of the spectrum. Most of our emotional states show paradoxical combinations of the two basic tendencies. Take an instinct drive like care for the offspring, shared by virtually all mammals and birds. Whatever the emotions to which this instinct gives rise in animals, and some of their manifestations are rather paradoxical. In man, they certainly take an often disastrous, ambivalent form. The child is regarded by its parent as its own flesh and blood, a biological bond which transcends the frontiers of the self. At the same time, overprotective mothers and domineering fathers are classical examples of self-assertiveness. If we turn from parental to sexual love, we again find both tendencies present. On the one hand, impulses towards aggression, domination, subjugation; on the other, towards empathy and identification. The mixture varies from rape to platonic worship according to its degrees of toxicity. Hunger is an apparently simple biological drive which one would hardly expect to give rise to complex ambivalent emotions. The teeth are symbols of aggression. Biting, snapping, attacking, and wolfing one's food are single-minded, crude manifestations of self-assertiveness. Now, this is just a small part of this book, but I feel like you get a general sense of the grander whole of that book, and that's about halfway through. The question becomes, what is the nature of man? Is it easy to discern from what we know in observing ourselves what our nature is? This is not always the case. Most people do not truly want to look at themselves with an unbiased eye. We always have this eye that looks at ourselves with a golden sheen as a lens. When we look at ourselves, we like to justify how we act. We like to justify, okay, I do this for that reason. I am this, so I do this. But a lot of what we think and a lot of how we act is based on ideas we've adopted or learned behaviors from other people. To truly look at ourselves, we have to get rid of as many lenses as possible. And we have to get rid of our own bias towards ourselves as being better than others, or our own path as being better than others. It's easy to look at a society where certain people are oppressed and say we're better than them, but it's hard to logically condone slapping such a big label on any other group. But when we look at ourselves with emotion, it's very easy to slap a label on other groups because we just say, okay, all of those people are bad. All of those people who believe something else or operate in this or that way or come from somewhere else are inferior. Look how great we are because this, and this. When we look at ourselves through our emotional lens, we find ourselves much more appealing and everybody else much less appealing. But there's a higher emotion that is very much connected with logic, very much connected with reasoning and higher thinking, and that is the love of the stranger, like I mentioned earlier, and the love of the future generations, ones that we will never meet, but ones we have to secure the future of right now. We have to stop our short-term thinking, and we have to advance in a way that allows humanity to exist for as long as it can, and we just haven't reached that point yet because so many people, for instance, I'll give an example, believe that the world is going to end soon and that, their God, their gospel will be correct, and they cannot imagine the hundreds, thousands, and millions of years that humanity could exist because they're so confined with their understanding of humanity and the times that they exist in. We are always at ground zero when it comes to the time and place we are on. It is hard for most people, especially with the very dogmatic religions or even political structures, to plan for the distant achievements of humanity, which will most certainly come. We don't know how long will last. We don't know if humanity will ever have one political idea, one religion, or anything like that, but most people hope that everyone in humanity is working towards agreeing with one's own ideas. And that just simply is wishful thinking. We have to understand that everything humanity is not just what we believe. Humanity is what it can and will be in the future with a combination of everyone's ideas. And the best parts of those ideas are the ones that propagate the higher emotion, the highest emotion, which is love, and the highest reasoning, and which is also love. So we see this joining of emotion and logic and reasoning at the height that is love, that is the compassion for everyone else now and everyone else in the future, and a desire to understand and to know the truth of reality and not just be subservient to the ideas we were raised around or that we'd like to accept. But that's enough about that book. Now, I would like to reiterate that I greatly appreciate everyone that has followed me to this point on my channel. All of you have been an inspiration to me, and a lot of you have contacted me, become friends on Facebook, some have followed me on Patreon, which I greatly appreciate, because Patreon is a place that I haven't gotten a whole lot of headway in. I'd like to get more patrons, so please become my patron for just $1 a month. That's all it takes, 25 cents a week. And you support the work that I do, and you support me. So I'd greatly appreciate if you go there and become my patron, which is at www.patreon.com/darkrealist, capital D, capital R. And I'll go ahead and throw up how to contact me on Facebook, because a lot of people have told me that they've been aided by my personal conversations with them, which I don't charge for. I don't charge for anything right now except for Patreon, which is $1 a month. But you get notifications about my YouTube videos on Patreon, and then I also write some things that I don't share anywhere else on Patreon. In the near future, when I reach 5,000 subscriptions, I will monetize, and I'll be able to produce better content for you, but I will also be monetized. So keep that in mind. If you want to support me as I am now without, demanding money on my channel, on my YouTube channel, feel free to go to Patreon and just donate as much as you want. All you need to donate is $1 a month, but feel free to donate as much as you want. I'd like to reiterate that everyone who shares my purpose of preserving humanity in this world for as long as possible becomes an ally. So come and be my ally. Contact me, appreciate the work that I do, and I will try to help you with whatever work you're trying to do. And a lot of you, I could even say most of you, know more than me on many topics, on maybe even everything that I cover. So I'd love to converse with you on Facebook, and we can talk on Messenger, blah, blah, blah. But regardless, thank you very much for watching. This has just been a simple video, but when the votes come in the next couple days, I'll leave the poll up. I will be making a major video that'll be of higher quality and many things involved regarding what you voted on that vote under the community tab on my channel. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see all of you in the future, and all of you, find yourselves and help others.